Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pizza Time with Mario and Dakota. I'm joined with Mario Cuomo here. He's
Yo,
You've been dealing with some trouble locally at your favorite VHS spot. Why don't you fill us in on that?
well, they're closing. It's called Disc Replay, and this Disc Replay has become somewhat of a church to me.
Hmm.
I found a lot of solitude browsing these shelves in recent history, and it's a bummer. I was at the other location yesterday picking up some physical media, and I overheard the workers talking about how the location that's actually nearest to my home will be shutting its doors in 30 days. And I was just bummed out because I got to, whenever maybe I bought all the VHS at one of them, I could go over to the other one and see what they had. And now my options are just becoming more limited. And
Hmm.
if the last one goes, I'm gonna be super, super upset because yeah, I like to buy, a VHS from eBay from time to time, or a DVD from Asia. But it's nice to it's nice to just take a walk, to take a stroll through the stores and see what they have. And there's other shit there too, like old video games and stuff like that, action figures. But I'm usually just going to check out I guess almost have that like that blockbuster experience. It's almost like the same price, really. Like
Hmm.
these DVDs are pretty cheap, and you pay a few bucks, and then you get to keep it forever and throw it on the shelf.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I mean, the last time I saw like an article or whatever about like Disney Plus shows or whatever, like being taken down off Disney Plus forever, and it's like you know I haven't been subscribing to Disney Plus, but it's like the idea of a movie that I love being like, oh, it's always on, whatever. It's been on Tubi for 3 years, so I probably don't have to buy it. But then, like, if it's gone, it's gone. You know, if you really like something or you see something you really like, I think it is really worth the effort of picking it up just so you don't got to worry about that. But I've gotten really weird with like collecting things like skateboards and whatever, jackets and fucking DVDs and VHS. Like, I don't know. I've been getting into it. I'm not like a hoarder yet or anything, but it's taking up some space. It's getting there for sure. Have you
Would
obsessively
would
done
would
anything
you
like
ever
that?
own a shop like that? Maybe you need to become the
Fuck yeah.
savior of the Elmhurst secondhand video and
Fuck yeah,
DVD.
dude. I would love to. I don't know if I could make enough money to even pay the rent at a place like that in the town that I grew up in. Um, but that would be amazing. If I didn't have to worry about fucking making money, I think
Yeah.
that would be the coolest fucking job ever. Like, half vintage clothes, half physical media. I would spice it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe have a rack of fucking brand new skateboards or something. But
You need to
yeah,
go in
that
on it with like Kevin Smith or someone.
yeah, I would need to.
I could see I could see him having a
I would
store
have
like
to have
that.
a little. I would have to have a little help for
Some seed
sure.
money. Yeah.
But
But
it's a
no,
bummer
I
that there's usually not stuff like that in the suburbs. That kind of bums me out.
I like to collect records. You can kind of see them here
Mm.
behind me. I've
Yeah,
really
that's a
jumped
lot of.
into that. When I first quit drinking, that became my kind of Friday sort of way to blow off steam, is just to go pilfer through records and buy them. But I have a lot that I'm really excited about. Got a few here. I can highlight some artists that I've been into lately. I saw this band recently. This is Meridian Brothers and El Grupo Renacimiento. And I got to see them behind a coffee shop. They're from Colombia, I
Nice.
believe, but they flew in to Raleigh to play this very small show. I'm not sure how that came about, but this is a very good record. This came out in 2022. It is sort of a experimental take on salsa music, and getting to see him do it live was really cool because he had a vocal manipulator on his mic that basically made him sound like one of those guys like calling a bullfight, like
Oh, nice.
it's like it kind of doubled the voice.
That's
That's
rad.
used a lot on the record. This is another one I got somewhat recently. This was one of my favorite records growing up.
Dude, that
Hot
is
Fuss.
that's a perfect record.
Yeah. I got really lucky finding this. Because I do go to record stores a lot. And that was the first time I had seen it. And it was only like $20. So I was like, well, I
Yeah.
gotta get it.
No,
And yeah,
I
like
really love
this
really love that band.
this whole record was like what I would listen to on the bus going to school all the
Oh
time
yeah.
when I was like 14. But
So
that whole
cool.
first side is great. Jenny was a friend of mine, Mr. Brightside, Smile Like You Mean It. Somebody told me all these things that I've done. Fantastic.
Yeah, those are absolute scorchers.
What else do I have in here that I'm excited about? I've not opened this yet, but I saw this band Frost Children about a month ago. They do hyper pop.
Okay.
Two sisters,
Right on.
Lulu and Angel.
Keep it in the family. I like
Keeping
that.
it in the family.
I like that heart. I like the heart barcode. I think
Yeah.
that's a nice little touch.
What else do I have in here? Anything of note? I'm trying to sell. This is the one I've been playing a lot whenever I have any girls over. This generally gets played
You know, I'm actually
pretty
late.
quickly.
I'm pretty late to the
I'm pretty
Lana
late to Lana
bandwagon.
too as well.
I'm a bandwagon fan that just
Do you
jumped
like-
on at this last record.
That new one was really good. And this is another one I've been liking recently. Vampire Weekend Contra. I've always liked this record. I think Modern Vampires is my favorite from them. I picked this one up recently, Modern Lovers on a red vinyl. I love this
classic.
one. This has one of my favorite songs, Pablo Picasso, which I've always thought was funny. And the lyric is, no one ever called Pablo Picasso an asshole, but that seems to be all I ever hear these days.
Yeah. Well,
Hannah
if he was around these days.
Hannah Gadsby is doing a art exhibit where she's pairing Pablo Picasso paintings with women painters to help dismantle the patriarchy. I don't know how that works. And I guess the last
good
one
fight.
Fight the good fight,
sister.
And just to sort of as a sort of antiseptic to that, we've got songs about fucking here. It's another great record. This is one of the first ones I got. But this
I've never even heard of that.
If no one has heard Big Black, this is a great record.
I have
Steve
not.
Steve Albini, famous producer. That was his first band that he had in the 80s, where he started to kind of So this was their last record they put out under the Big Black name before he formed Shellac in the 90s, who I have seen, and they are fantastic. Steve Albini is one of my favorites.
I recorded in his studio, but I saw him washing dishes once, but I never said hi.
His whole thing is like, it's almost annoying, but like he's just like, I'm hands off. I'm not a producer, I'm an engineer. You pay me 10 grand and I'll record your record. Like that's his whole thing, which I can respect. He's also really good at poker, which I think is cool. He's won like a World Series of Poker bracelet, I believe.
Well, if we worked with him instead, it would have been a lot cheaper than what we paid for that time period that we rented his studio from him. But that was a cool experience, and he has a really nice place that was really close to where I was living at the time. So
because he's in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I think back at that time pretty fondly. It was a nice 30 days.
Did you ever get into production hell? Because I feel like I'm sort of in production. It's just sort of a standstill. And I'm like, for my record, working on, and I'm just like questioning the vocals mostly and some of the mixes. And it's just like, how did you guys kind of decide on how a record was going to sound? And was it always your decision? Was it ever the producer's decision? Was it a band thing, or were you kind of driving what you wanted the sound to sound like for any given
Um,
record?
I think I'm pretty easygoing, especially with my vocals. So like usually if I, if I thought I tried hard enough on these takes or whatever, it was never like 500 takes. Sometimes it was
Sure.
a lot, but nothing like no like Kubrick level,
Hmm.
stories. But I'm kind of like, once you give it your best effort,
Hmm.
let it exist, let that thing exist, and let people hear that. And I don't think I'm that much of like a perfectionist, and I'm really trying to stick with I don't know if you ever see like those little like quotes that like Rick Rubin puts out, where it's like he's very much he's always preaching that like less is more attitude.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And don't
You
fuck
should
up
say
what you
that
made.
he should send that memo to his beard.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, what can he take away from his own look?
This is a
um
comedy podcast now.
but yeah, so I don't know, I've always been more, I like when people bring things up, like if they have an idea to add something, that's great. But I think and sometimes it does make things better, but I feel like I'm kind of so bare bones that I probably need that from somebody that I'm working with.
Mhm.
I think I benefit personally from somebody actually thinking of something to add, because I feel like I'm constantly maybe subtracting, because I think that but it's like, I wonder if I hope it's not just the fact that I don't like when people get to, it drives me really fucking crazy when people can't like let something like live how it is. And like re-recording things, or re-recording things that already sound good, drives me absolutely nuts. So, I love a valiant effort, and I love when people come together to make something cool. But it's like, you know, I also want everybody to bring their A game and be on their toes, and realize that like this is a
Mhm.
moment, this is a moment in time that we're getting together to do this
Yeah.
thing. And what you get is usually what you get. I don't like fussing with things too much.
Mhm.
I mean, it's one thing like if somebody's gonna, master something, or they want to take a shot at a bit of a different mix, and that, hear them out for sure, let them attempt that. But sometimes you get it back and you're like, you know what, I'm fine with what I had before.
Mhm.
Some people get a little too, I get a little too hands on, and then I'm like, I can get turned off pretty quickly.
You don't want to be too precious with it.
No.
Yeah. I'm just dealing with the limitations of our budget and how we've recorded, so it's like in my head I think it's like sort of might be as good as it can be for what it is, and I'm just having
Hmm.
trouble accepting that. And I'm like, I want it perfect, but it's like we didn't record it live, we did it track by track, and there's a sort of, it's hard,
You know
sometimes
what
it
I'm
feels.
a
What?
I'm a big fan of. I don't know if you've ever used it, but have you ever ran anything? Have you ever? This is like, this is probably like producer like sacrilege, but like I'm all for technology getting better at things.
Mhm.
And have you ever ran anything through Lander? Landr.
No.
You should do that
Is
when
that
we
a
get off this.
compression?
It's yeah, it's like a mastering
Oh
program.
no. So yeah, the guy who's producing it will use Lander to check his own work, essentially. So he'll master it, and then he'll run it through Lander and see how different they are, and see, like if he's kind of on the money for how it sounds.
Okay. Yeah, I was just I would always run shit through there, and just most of the time it kind of made everything as loud as I, it accentuated everything in the right ways and made everything as
Hmm.
loud as it should be. And I kind of been trusting it for a while, because it's kind of like night and day.
Hmm.
But I'm all for like technology and using loops, and I've worked with people that are super against using loops and like pre-sampled drums and things like that. And I just don't have the time to even, like, if you get it, if there's inspiration in a fucking loop, then
Hmm.
by all means ride that for hours, like, until you have something cool. Because like I don't have the time to be like going back and re-replicating things for like the sake of like a cock measuring contest between like somebody that
Hmm.
thinks they're more into gear or whatever. Like, I don't care about that at all. And the people that are listening to it definitely don't give a fuck about it, because most people aren't going through this cycle, and most people are not making music. So like, if there's ever something that you're doing that you think somebody's going to notice, or somebody's going to bother you about production, like, are you gonna worry about that one fucking nerd?
Hmm.
Like, don't. Because most people are just gonna be like, oh, does that sound good? Does that sound cool to me? Then you
Hmm.
won, like, then
Yeah.
then you did your job. But so I don't get caught up in all that shit. And sometimes people that do, I'll just stop working with them, or
Yeah.
I won't be interested.
So for Middle American, were you programming the drums or these actual full loops that you just pulled and then built your instrumentation on top of?
I think those are all loops except for the last track. I
Hmm.
think the last track was probably the most organic, because we sat down with like a keyboard player and a drummer, and I wanted it to be this fucking, that's right. I wanted it to be a little bit, a little more of a conclusion,
Is the
because I
last track
wanted,
Middle American? I can't
yeah,
remember. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So I wanted
so
it to
so that's
be,
a live piano and
yeah, and I wanted to
gotcha.
have this sort of epic, more of like an epic crescendo, where before,
Hmm.
there's a little bit more poppier sounding things on the record. But
Hmm.
that was the only one I think that I approached like more of a I approached it more like a band. And the rest of it, I
Hmm.
was just kind of like jerking off technology and
Hmm.
paying a guitar player to like lightly sprinkle
Yeah.
guitar over the whole record. And he did a great job. But
Is this the plain white tees guy?
yeah, that would be Dave.
Nice. Nice.
And he did a great job. And I had my friend Siggy kind of oversee the whole thing and make sure that levels and everything were all correct, and he helped
Hmm.
me record vocals, because I was still at the time extremely new to recording. And he's an engineer, and you know he knows how to record everything, so
Yeah.
that helped a lot. And with the help of those two guys, I had a record on my hands that I was pretty proud of. So
Did you double track your vocals or are we hearing
always,
one
I
there?
always
Yeah.
double track vocals.
So
I can't even like hear myself not double tracked, or else it like really bothers me.
that's been my biggest crux of like everything on the album's double tracked because that's what our bassist slash producer said would sound the best. But I was not. I think I need to just go back and do it a little bit better
Hmm.
because I my phrasing's off at places and I'll hear it where the two tracks will kind of split and I'm like, oh my god, like I
Yeah,
can't.
I mean,
It's
I've
so hard to sing it exactly the same way twice. I
yeah.
mean, I got better at it over the course of it, but
You will get
for the
better at it.
first tracks we did for it, I'm like, I'm not even close on some of these phrasings, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
do I want to take that out? Do I want to bring one vocal to the center for these parts, and then double track on some of the more uh orchestrated aspects? I don't know. I mean, it's good that it still hasn't come out because I can still tinker with it. But
Yeah.
I had
Sometimes I'll even double track a high vocal and double
Mhm.
track a low vocal.
Yeah.
So you'll have like
I
four.
double tracked all my harmonies and like I'm happy with like how the harmonies sound because they're
Yeah.
more in the back and washed out. But for the kind of more
Yeah. I mean, I've always been a fan of double tracking, and I think I just have one of those voices where I think some people were born with a voice where they can get away with, having that more, I don't know, that more human, like
Mhm.
isolated vocal. And I think it works a lot with, it can work in a live, more of a, not a live setting, but like, I don't know, other genres, I think like can get away with more of that singer
Mhm.
songwriter, like kind of one vocal feeling. But I think I'm, I don't know, I mean, a lot of people did double tracking, like, John Lennon and Kurt Cobain and pretty heavy
Yeah.
hitters
Yeah.
were down with it. And I think personally my voice has always sounded like, I think it's fullest potential when I have, two of me.
Mhm.
And when it's just one, it sounds completely unfinished to me. So
Mhm.
I've always been a huge fan of, the double track.
Gotcha. I think it
But
works for
it's
you a
personal.
lot, you know? Yeah. I'm just trying to figure out what works best for my voice.
If you can, I
Um,
mean, yeah, if you could tell that there's a difference between takes and they're not lining up, then maybe you might want to just pick your favorite one and just
yeah.
ride with it,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
redo stuff. But were you like recording to tape or anything? That's expensive.
No, it's digital. So I can just go
Okay.
back and fix it pretty easily.
Okay.
So I'm thinking I might need to do that just at the end here. Yeah, so like we've worked with two producers and like I because I don't know, because I liked both of them, but now I've got like two sets of songs that kind of sound distinctly different. And now I'm like,
I
oh
see.
my God, what is going on here? But I kind of want to let it ride. I was very inspired by like Pusha T's album where he had Pharrell produce half of it and he had Kanye do the other half.
Hmm.
So I was like, I'm gonna get that, but with a rock album. Um, and I think it'll still work. Hopefully, I think it'll be varied, and
It
that might
definitely can
retain some
still work.
listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it can
Um,
definitely still work, and it might just take a little bit of extra time. I think like I've
yeah.
been on a record that had four producers, and the only difference is that it took more time and it
Mhm.
took more traveling to go to all these places and more money. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it still sounded like the records still sounds like a,
Cohesive.
yeah. So
Yeah.
don't be worried. Don't be too worried about
Yeah.
that happening.
So, what's your opinion on Kurt Cobain? Is he punk or is he a wimp?
I think he was very punk at the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Very punk at the time. If he was pulling that shit nowadays, he would be like the most annoying pussy that I've ever
Yeah.
fucking, like it would be miserable.
That's the Twitter discourse I see all the time, which is just like Kurt Cobain would be the most annoying person on Twitter now if he
That's
were
true,
still
but like
alive.
that's true. Who knows? He might have the times might have turned him into even something else, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like Kurt Cobain wore a dress, so fucking Kid Cudi doesn't have to, Like what the fuck are you doing? Like, like you kind of like when people break down certain walls and certain barriers, like it's time to move on. Like it's like
Mhm.
he was saying certain things like, yeah, he's like, yeah, you don't fucking grab a girl's ass that's crowd surfing, like things like that. Like, hope you would hope that once somebody addresses that like we could fucking move on. And
Mhm.
that's a necessary thing that happens. And I think he did a lot of stuff like that. Like I think he really was like punk and brave and like all that.
Mhm.
But I think, you look at that through today's microscope of this memed out world that we fucking live in.
Mhm.
And it's like, now you look at that and you're like, well, that was probably cool at the time, but like, who gives a fuck now?
Yeah, it was 30 years ago,
Yeah. So
essentially.
any replication of like, oh, that's so Cobain or whatever,
Mhm.
something that's already been done, is kind of, I'm not impressed.
It's wild that he died so young too. Like I think to myself a lot. I go, I outlived Kurt Cobain, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, granted, he was under a lot of stress. I think he had very bad acid reflux, from what I understand,
Hmm.
because he talks about drinking, you know, Pepto Bismol and like just like, and I assume he was just, I assume this is from drug use or alcohol abuse. That's
Right.
generally when I've had to use Tums the most, when I'm drinking a lot and just having
Yeah.
heartburn. But it's a very miserable experience, especially if you're stuck in this like loop and if your body's just like hurting you all the time. It's
Right. And
hard, you
he
know.
really liked heroin over, painkillers, because
Hmm.
it's probably a pretty good painkiller. But
Hmm.
yeah, nothing's changed as far as hardcore drugs really not being a great idea. That's
Hmm.
still that's still a thing. They haven't figured that out yet. So um but yeah, by today's standards, Cobain at the time, very punk, very awesome, very brave. If you were to drop that in 2023,
It wouldn't be
definitely
very
miss.
remarkable. Yeah.
No, definitely a very safe.
Hmm.
It's a very safe way to behave now. Like to
Yeah.
tell people to
Don't
tell,
assault women.
yeah, no shit, dude. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, nowadays it's not so,
Great. Yeah.
but the concert experience is not so macho anymore anyways. People are afraid to it's dangerous to ask a chick for their number or something. So it's just not the same. You can't look at it under the same fucking microscope.
I like to just disregard this whole it's not safe to talk to women. I feel like it's almost
Yeah,
your
yeah.
responsibility as a man to just sort of still try and be chivalrous, even if it
Oh yeah,
becomes sort of dated
for
and
sure.
seen as sexist in certain ways. Because like I I I I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to separate what I read on Twitter from reality. But like I was at a sushi restaurant last night and I gave my number to the hostess and she didn't fucking text me, but like I was
Yeah,
proud of
whatever.
myself for approaching her and just, expressing interest, and I think
Yeah.
like I think that's been like I'm upset that most of my current relationships were based off of like Tinder or like Hinge, where
Hmm.
like where it's almost like a pre-selection. It always takes a little bit of like the like drama of it out of it, because it's like if
Hmm.
it's already established that you guys both like each other on a certain like what's the where's that sort of like tension and buildup that can make relationships last or be
Yeah.
satisfying.
It is a bit, that spark is a little bit less a little less romantic, a little
Hmm.
less cinematic. And
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, but if you're a single person and you're not like asking people out or like trying to go on a date, like the fuck are you doing? Like, of course you're gonna be sad. Like
I
you got
was
nothing to look
yeah,
got nothing to look forward to.
I was out to dinner with my friend. I was trying to explain to him what an incel was.
What the
And
fuck?
well, it's just like, what does that mean? And I'm like, involuntarily celibate. And I said, and he said, why would you choose to be like that? I said that it's involuntary.
Right.
But yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't it's like you're the sum of your five closest friends, and I think they're all in decent romantic relationships. So um I've just been single forever, I feel like, but there'll be a random uh person here or there, but I've had trouble like finding ways to open up or like commit, and
Hmm.
and also just using art as sort of a way for me to it's like that's my love affair is like going to work with paint or playing the guitar. Like that's what I end up really honing in on, feeling where I can like um express myself. And I just get sad sometimes because I like wish that I could do that more in my personal life, but I think it's just a skill I have to like develop a little bit better, you know?
Yeah,
And like, I don't know,
I do.
my
Yeah,
my ADHD and my whatever, my just how I am, you know, it's just hard to it's defining to be with someone, and I have trouble defining myself in ways outside of my artistic pursuits. So that I think has been a hurdle, you know.
yeah. I think I have a problem with maybe, you know, maybe trying to keep them too separate, like church and state. With,
Yes, yes.
you know,
Mhm.
like if somebody is like, "Oh, I dig this song," I'm kind of like, "Okay," you know, like
You don't want to sing
that's
for your
great. You
supper, you know. Yeah,
no, no, yeah,
you want
like
the value
yeah,
to be seen in you.
yeah, like be into whatever you want, but we don't have to like fucking shake hands over all the great records and all the best movies ever made. Like I almost selfishly want to keep a lot of that stuff, like so personal. Like
Mhm.
whatever I like is what I like, and if you like it too, that's cool. But I am interested in somebody that has their own identity that doesn't
Mhm.
really overlap with mine at the same time,
Yeah.
because I've had my, we all have our own, we all have our own path and history. So it's like, I don't want to feel like when somebody's trying to, especially if they're trying to make it seem like they have a similar life, when it's like, that's a horrible act to like put on,
Mhm.
where it's like, don't like, that's really unattractive to try to like put on a face for somebody. Whereas like it's cool if somebody likes all the opposite music that I do, or has never heard of a movie that I love. Like, that's great. Then there's something that, there's even more to talk about, like, sharing, choosing what to share with somebody and letting them in on those things that interest you is such a rewarding experience when you're talking to somebody else. But it's not totally necessary to have a bunch of things in common, I don't think.
Give me three movies. This is such a it's that you would show someone you were interested in as like a date. Have you ever done this? Where like you sit them down and you're like, you got to watch this movie because it'll
Well, I don't want to
explain
go.
me.
Well, I don't want to go. I don't want to go against like what I just said, but like that is a nice thing if somebody
The re-education.
yeah, like I don't want to I don't think it's a deal breaker, but like if somebody, if somebody's gonna like go on a tangent about like why like Vincent Gallo is a piece of shit or something, like it's over. Like I don't want to fucking
Ah,
talk. I don't
I
want to. I
wanted,
don't want to get
yeah.
ice cream with you. Like the stuff like there's certain things where I'm like, you can almost use like other people as like a good what's it called, litmus test or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Hmm.
Where like if somebody has a strong opinion about somebody that like I'm like, whoa, like
Yeah.
you certainly feel really strongly about this person you've never met before. It's kind of like they just told me a bunch of stuff about themselves, where I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
maybe you are not going to be fun to spend a lot of time with in the
Yeah.
future if you get so hung up on like other people's lives and endeavors and
Hmm.
artistic choices. It's like, okay, I see you.
I was I was on a date and we were talking about James Cameron, and she was like, he was really abusive to make Leonardo DiCaprio and
What
Kate
the
Winslet
hell?
be in that cold water for so long. And I said, well, that's kind of the movie though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
It's
absurd.
funny. I was like, sometimes directors have to put their actors in stressful situations. Also, they were being paid millions of dollars, and no one,
Yeah,
it's like, I'm sure it was cold. I'm sure it was uncomfortable. Have you ever dug a trench in the rain?
yeah, yeah. Like
Anyway,
people get cold every fucking day for
yeah,
minimum
like what?
wage. Like relax.
I'm sorry that an actor uh was asked to be in cold water for a scene that is in cold water, you know.
Yes, and exist on film for eternity. This like,
That's the history of abuse in James. Oh
yeah,
man.
James Cameron. He's never been a topic of discussion on any dates of mine. But
Yeah.
I guess even James Cameron could be a litmus test.
Mhm. So is Vincent Gallo punk or is he a wimp?
Biggest punk on
Yeah,
planet Earth for
yeah.
sure. Dude, check this out. I just got this.
Did
I
you
just
buy
got
a leather
this.
jacket from him?
No, I just got this framed.
What is this? What are we
This is
looking at?
this is a poster that was used to promote one of his albums
Gotcha.
called When.
I've never heard his music. What is his style that he likes?
Um, his style is very. I mean, you're not gonna hear like a catchy pop tune come out
Mhm.
of him. You know, it's
Is
very
it rock instrumentation though?
yeah, but like I think like he's worked with like John Frusciante before. I don't know
Mhm,
if you ever
mhm.
heard of a lot of
The
Jonathan
Red Hot Chili
Frusciante's.
Peppers. Yeah.
No, but like his
No,
solo
I've heard
shit.
it. Yeah,
It,
it's like
it
Wild Man Fisher.
yeah, it's very it can be all over the place, but really sick. But I think he's worked with him on some of his music, and I mean it's just it's yeah, very artistic. He's not trying to get rich off pop songs anytime soon, but very enjoyable. Like I like the songs a lot, and he has a lot of cool instrumentals. Like he did this album, Songs for Film,
Mhm,
that is extremely cinematic. It just sounds really dope, and it's fun to like drive around to and shit. Like it's super moody because
mhm.
he's such a because what else would you expect from such a moody man?
Yeah.
But it's really good, dude. And you know, he's like a gear snob, opposite of me. He's like a vintage gear psychopath, and
Mhm,
it's badass. That's his shit, you know. So me me not so much, but he comes from a different time, you know.
mhm,
He comes from a time where like if you wanted that sound, like you had to go find this you had to find the thing to produce that sound. Like
mhm.
there was no library where you could just type things into. And he seems to get a kick off of stuff like you know, get a kick out of it. And that's cool. But I like his he's a renaissance man. Just like
So
yourself.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Fellow renaissance man, Vincent Gallo.
he is a Renaissance man. I was watching the Brown Bunny on like a very bad rip online, and I couldn't get through it. Um,
Uh-huh.
I'd love to see it again with some better picture quality because I think that was probably the reason I was watching it on like a small laptop, and I was like, this is just lost on me, and it's extremely slow.
You can get
Um,
the DVD for not that it's not that expensive on
mhm,
eBay. Once in a
yeah,
while, a copy pops up. But
but I
yeah,
liked Buffalo
it's a fun
66 a lot.
yeah, it's a fun movie to make somebody watch The Brown Bunny. But it's kind of like I like warned my cousin who's
Mhm,
like super into like film right now and going to school,
mhm.
and I was like, I'm gonna fucking put this on, but we're gonna see this man get his dick sucked. And he was like,
Yeah.
what? What the hell? And I was like, I'm just telling you, like, that's there's gonna be a part where that happens. And he enjoyed it
So
though. Like he enjoyed the movie a lot. And it was cool to see his reaction to something like so out of left field, like something that nobody would ever fucking attempt this day and age and be like, no, this that's not real. And you're like, yeah,
do you
this
think
is
it's
real.
simulated or you think it is real?
No, I think it's real.
It's real.
I think so.
It's a very funny framing. It doesn't look like it was the most enjoyable blowjob, but it might have been the one that you can see the most. I don't know. There's something about
He
the angle where I'm like, what is going on here?
he brags about doing back to back takes with full cum shots. He was very proud of that
God.
in one of the interviews. But it's sick, dude. I don't know. It's fucking crazy, but he's a wild man. But a lot
I
of
would
wild men make
I
pretty
would
dope shit.
I wouldn't mind doing a sort of soft core pornographic film. I think that'd be a fun genre to kind of revitalize. It seems like um yeah, I mean I listen to uh do you listen to Jack Perfume Nationalist at all? You ever heard that?
No, I mean I follow him on Twitter
You
and shit, but
follow him, but
I never put on an episode.
he talks a lot about sort of antiseptic lack of sex in modern film. And I don't know, it's like obviously sex is a big part of my work generally, and it's in my music a little bit too, this sort of cheeky nature. And I think like, oh man, it's like there's a sort of modern discourse around what is allowed, and it just sort of depresses me. I feel like growing up in an adolescence, I was like, this is going to be the 60s, like when I'm an adult. But it's just been the exact opposite, just like feeling like just a lot of shame in this sort of American culture around the discourse of it.
Yeah, and people are like
it's wild.
People are like, replacing those like very human experiences with just getting like a lot of likes or like having a video blow up is
Yeah,
like
it's a rise
orgasmic.
in
So
like sort of individual kind of self gratification, whether you are doing that through how you present yourself, or you know it is a lot, it's a lot more separated. I'm just like OnlyFans is the biggest like tease in the world. Like it's very boring,
yeah,
and like it's not anything. Like I don't know, it's just it's odd that sex has sort of been commodified and commercialized in a way that's really uninteresting, and not very transgressive. And I like almost think that the sort of modern look at sex is very childish in a way,
uh-huh.
because it's a lot about sort of preventing conception, and it's a lot about like, hey, we're just having fun, and like I feel like sex can come from a very dark place a lot of the time, and to sort of invalidate that with the sort of whitewashing of it with like the dollar and stuff, is just an odd place to be. And I think it separates a lot of people, because sex is sort of a way to get likes, or it's like it's a tool for other things versus sort of being the culmination of like maybe human togetherness that it may have
Yeah,
been
this
at
this thing that
other periods in time.
yeah, this thing that has really brought people together is now there's a lot of ways that it's being used to keep people extremely disconnected
Mm-hmm.
with reality, or
Mm-hmm.
being fucking being having some sort of fucking relationship in your head that you think you got like a chance with somebody, or like paying to see somebody in a certain way is just it's very disconnected. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like we're like, it's hard not to think that these delusions are like being celebrated. And you should be supportive, and you should be involved in these this delusional habit that could just end up hurting you spiritually and financially. So I'm not crazy about the idea of
Mm-hmm.
that getting even more intense as technologies increase, and people's disconnect seems to continue.
You're not ready for AI waifu?
Maybe that'll be the end of it. Maybe maybe that's when all this, maybe that will be the big reset, and people will be like, what the fuck? The waiters will be like, what the fuck? Nobody's asking me out for ice cream. What's going on here? And everybody's at home just pounding away at their fucking
Mm-hmm.
cyborg silicone ass that's strapped to their PS12, and
And yeah, I mean,
and
I
everybody's
think
happier
like
than ever.
you lose the ability to grow, if you don't have to deal with sort of the reject. I mean, this is a fucking Jordan Peterson quote, God. But like, just
Damn,
like,
dude.
God damn.
You just boxed us in. You just
Is
pigeonholed us.
is Jordan Peterson punk rock, or is he a wimp?
Is he the answer? Is he
I
the
think he's
answer?
kind of a wimp. I think
Yeah,
I liked his book. I liked the first book he wrote, but now it's sort of like, it's wild just how quickly you can get tired of someone. Anyway, but like,
yeah, it is tiring.
the thing is just that if you're not putting yourself out there in real world interactions, then you're never going to be forced to necessarily improve yourself to the point where you could be with the person that you fantasize about being with. And if you're just going to supplement that with your money, essentially, then it's really just about who has the most money, who has the most resources. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's generally how human history has gone, but like,
Yeah, that seems not to be. Yeah, for some reason that's not frowned upon at all. Like if you're just like, oh, I just date guys with the most money, it's like, you do you, girl. Like that's all good. But like anything else, anything the other way around is a little like, whoa, that's not cool, bro.
yeah,
But I don't know. Seems like it's kind of always been like that.
for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know what my point was really. Oh, just yeah. I mean,
You're
yeah.
like,
I guess
my point is fucking.
my point is I'm pissed that I'm fucking broke, man. That's why we're
Yeah,
this we're
like,
doing a fucking podcast, man.
You're like, I'm
Because I'm
broke.
trying to get fucking clout, man.
You're like, I'm broke. I can't sell this pussy or nothing.
Do you know what's fucking attractive is telling someone that you do a podcast? That has been just
I don't think I've told
God.
anybody. I don't think I'll tell anybody.
This
But
is still the soft launch. This is still conversations.
this is episode 1 and
This
2.
is one A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our friend Jay is starting to shoot his next film. Did you see any of the stills over the weekend?
I saw that he was shooting, but I wasn't aware of what it's for.
It's for Mega Fish Corp.
Oh, right. That's gonna be a film now.
I believe so.
Because I remember when he was saying it was gonna be a series,
mhm.
and yeah, it would be awesome to have him come talk about that or whatever he's willing to share this early on. But that looks fucking cool. And there's a lot of people involved in that like we mutually know that I'm sure would be down to come talk about come talk about it.
What is Spencer was over there? I know you mentioned him to me in chat, and I was wondering what your connection with the Death Curse comics is.
He reached out to me to he wanted to do like some cassette release with some music that we still might do, but we just haven't pulled any triggers on. But he wanted to press some cassettes for me, and we just got to talking, and he's just super easygoing, fun guy to talk to. So he could probably come on and talk comics a little bit more, because because I was a big comic book kid. And so I mean, like seeing him do like indie comics is really refreshing, actually, to see something like that.
Yeah.
And I get that kind of same feeling when I go look at like old DVDs at this place. When I see comic books on the shelf, I get the same sort of buzz in that environment. I don't know, just that was like kind of my intro to like art in a way.
Yeah.
Like really, like having posters of like whatever fucking the Green Lantern or whatever on my wall when I was like really young. I was seeing somebody's style and seeing somebody's artwork for the first time, and knowing that I liked it, where like, in school they would show us paintings and stuff, but it wasn't like you weren't choosing it.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was a kid, picking up the comic that looked the coolest to me was like me, consuming art for my own, personal pleasure. And that's what you're drawn to as a great cover. So I'm still kind of, that's always going to have a place in my heart for sure.
And let me see if I might have some comics here.
I got a
2
shitload.
seconds.
I got a shitload that I got to sell. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I shouldn't sell my comics. I've been buying CGC comics like a real fucking nerd.
This is not the one I was looking for, but I forgot I had this. But this is Love as Hell cartoons from Matt Groening, and this is pre-Simpsons.
Oh, that's more of like a funny pages like type of comic, right?
Yeah, and that was generally more my style growing up. But this is 1984 Matt Groening. My dad's a big Marvel guy. He's got some cool old Marvel stuff.
Yeah, I'm more of the spandex type guy.
Is spandex DC?
No, like all things. They all wear it. They all wear it. I'm that's more of my comic history, not so much the funny pages, but
yeah. But my dad would always tell me that he just had the worst luck with buying the comics that were valuable. Like he'd get like one a month, right? And he'd always like miss the like grails. Like he'd be like, "Yep, I remember when Hulk 1 came out, but I didn't buy it."
Right, you don't really know. Yeah.
And he's like, "I remember when the first Venom 1 came out and I didn't buy it. But I got this one instead." And I was just like, you had the worst luck with choosing which ones were gonna, not that was why I was gonna do it. I mean, he just enjoyed the comics. But it's just kind of funny.
Now I'm
unlucky in love, unlucky in comics.
Yeah, now we're gonna be like an old geezer and be like, "Come here, little guy. Let me tell you when I had 2,000 Dogecoin."
Oh my lord!
And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Let me tell you."
I bought the Dogecoin instead of the Peppercoin, and I just didn't have the foresight at the time.
Let me tell you a little story about the Doge. That's gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna be fun. But no, I haven't dove into any online gambling with coins or stocks.
I was doing that during
during
the pandemic. I was doing it, and then it all kind of it all just lost value, and then I haven't logged in for 3 years, so I have no idea what my assets are looking at like at this point. I just kind of gave up on it.
But guess who still got their comics? Me.
That's right. And I still have my Dogecoin.
So you're good.
All right. I think that is a good time to wrap it up, maybe.
Yeah, it's good.
Do you have any more comments about Vincent Gallo or comics or any parting words?
No, nothing about The Godfather.
The Godfather.
Yeah. No, nothing, no parting words, but I guess we want to have guests, right? So
yeah. So
if anybody wants
to drop a comment if you want to jump on and ramble with us.
Yes, drop a
you gotta share you gotta share this when we do a clip of this or something, and then and tag 5 friends.
Yeah, you have
we'll go the Mr. Beast method.
Oh yeah,
we should get Mr. Beast on. He's a fellow North Carolinian. I'm sure he'd love to be on.
Yes, we can go to the Carolinas and camp out in the town that he just built and just walk the streets looking for Jimmy.
I live right by there.
Really?
I think so. I think he lives like he's either in I think he's in like Cary. I think he's like 20 minutes from me.
That's exciting. You should go to work for him. I would legitimately like be on his payroll. I'd be down.
I would let him lock me in a room for a week for $1 million or whatever he does.
I'd probably just be a coffee runner, but I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the man. I'm a fan of the Beast, and I buy his chocolate. Coffee for the
Beast, Mr. Beast. Can I call you Mr.? Yeah.
Can I call you Mr. Jimmy? Yeah, I would. I buy his chocolate bars, and everybody should. So
I have not had the chocolate bars. I haven't seen.
You got to get yourself, dude. They're in most grocery stores and all the Walmarts in America. So
gotcha.
If you ever find yourself, grab yourself some Feastables.
I was just in Feastables.
Support a hard work, dude. He's a hardworking man.
Yes, he
Support a
is.
hardworking man.
He's building communities.
He is.
All right, guys.
All
Thank you
right.
so much. This was a pleasure, Mario. I will
All right.
talk to
Episode
you
3.
soon. Coming soon. You cut out.
My bad.
He's
All right.
he's gone. All right. Bye bye.
All right. Later.
How do we stop the fucking